All right, so this is a sirloin steak or the alcatra. This is a really ugly one, so this is a good one to learn with. So the first thing I'm going to do is this piece here. You can see, you can kind of separate it off of the meat. It's very fibrous-y, very hard to chew, especially if you're a customer. You're not going to like this piece. So what I'll do is you can kind of pull it, you can kind of cut a little bit. You don't want to cut too deep because right under it is a very good piece that you can use for the filet wrapped in bacon. So I'll take that off, cut it down, save it for the ground beef. Depending on what you want to do next, you can kind of clean it up a little bit, take off any of this extra fat as such. You can also take off more of this fat when you eventually cut it into the pieces. Alright, so right under that piece that we had just taken off is the piece that I was talking about that's very good for the filet wrapped in bacon. So you can just kind of pull this off. You have to use a knife to separate it a little bit, but this piece is very soft and it's good for when you're using the filet wrapped in bacon. So I'll just show you real quick. Clean this piece up a little bit, take that off. And then you can cut this into little pieces that we will use for the filet wrapped in bacon. Clean up a little more if you see any of the silver skin, very hard to chew, so try and take that out of there. Should be good. All right, so there's two sides. There's the non-picanha side, and then there is the picanha side, because the sirloin always has the picanha as well. So what I do is on the picanha side, it's very ugly on this side. So if I were to just cut it into a piece, it would look terrible. I don't know how else to say it. It would look terrible. So for example, I'll just do it, just for example. I'll cut this piece down. If you were to make this into, a sirloin piece, and you try to skewer that, half of it is just fat and fibers. So if you were to cut that for a customer, they would hate it. So what I'm gonna do is kind of take off that whole chunk here, where all the ugliness starts. I'll take that off. So now it's a little bit nicer. Ideally, it's not as nice as I would like it to be. It still has this kind of fibrous part. The same with the picanha, you kind of want to take any extra fat off. And like I said earlier, you can come back in. It's a little bit easier now that it's cut. Take this extra fat off. So just try to clean up anything that's really, really bad looking. You can kind of see it, any of the hard to chew stuff. So we'll take that off, and again, you can use that for the ground beef that we use later. It's about as good as it's going to get. Like I said, this is an ugly piece. Sometimes they come less ugly. This one, unfortunately, did not, but that's good enough. Save that for now. This piece that we took off the picanha side, you can use whatever you can to try to use for the garlic steak or filet bacon, um, if possible. Getting this a really, really ugly piece, but we'll do what we can. It's good for the garlic. Garlic steak. See if you can use anything from this piece. It's not always this bad. Anything you can't use, I'll just try to get any of that meat off. And then again, we can use that for the ground beef. Alright, so we have that piece. You can also cut this down. Usually you'll get about 3 out of them. And then you kind of want to create sort of a tail. So what I'll do is I'll just kind of cut that piece as such. That'll help to hold it better to the skewer when we eventually do serve it to the customers. You can kind of even see too. I guess it's kind of harder to see with these glasses, but typically there's a line that you can cut down when you're cutting this. So you want to cook like that. Again, clean up any extra fat. Looks good. All right. The outside piece is the hardest piece to skewer because the picanha separates from the rest of the sirloin steak. So you really want to mold it. You kind of want to set it how you want it to look on the skewer before you even skewer it. All right. So typically 1 to 2 fingers from the side. You want to make sure you get all the meat. So picanha has to go through the rest of the sirloin steak as such. Skewer should be poking through. You want to turn it once you get it to here, and you want to make sure you really lock down that part with the picanha. Make sure it's in the center. Make sure you lock those two pieces down. If not, it's going to be flopping. It's not going to cook great. Turn it back, and then you put that tail piece on. And just make sure that it's all through the center, like that. Good to go. This is ideally how you want it to look. It's a little bit ugly. Probably could have taken a little bit more off when I took the picanha side off. These pieces are nicer looking. The same thing. Mold it to how you want it to look. Skewer through the middle. Turn around. Lock down the picanha. And then you can come back and skewer the tail piece. Make sure that it's not going to fall when you're skewering or when you're cutting for the table. The outside piece is the easiest piece to skewer because it doesn't have much of the picanha piece. So it should just be one solid piece. Same thing, make sure you skewer both parts through the center. And then come back and skewer through the tail to make sure it stays sturdy. Not perfect, but it's good enough. Also, when you take off these fatty pieces, if there's any of the extra meat, make sure you're taking off the meat. This is fine, not too fibery. You can use that for the filet bacon. This piece, a little bit more fibery than the first piece, so we'll use that for the ground beef. All good.